3, 2, 1, go.
What's up, everybody? My name is Mike. I'm one half of the Brothers Murph. It's time for Metagame Minute, a weekly segment where we talk about something about board games that's been twinkling through our brain spheres. Today I want to talk about Kickstarters taking a while to arrive, which is just sort of the Kickstarter way. If you back a game on Kickstarter, some board game, it's not usually going to arrive soon. 6 months is like a pretty quick turnaround, I'd imagine. A lot of times it'll take a year or more. And I have this thing where I have a couple of Kickstarters, Tidal Blades and Kingdom Rush in particular, that have, Tidal Blades in particular is arriving soon. And it will be 2 years since we backed it. And with that and Kingdom Rush, it's gotten to the point where it's been such a long time that I am getting worried that there's going to be no way that the game will live up to whatever I might have thought it might be just because it's been a while, right? Now, it doesn't even necessarily have to do with what the game is. It's just that like 2 years later, there's been this buildup of pressure where I'm like, could this possibly live up to 2 years worth of waiting? I don't know, anything that you end up waiting for a long time for, it's hard for, in your head, you build it up. It's like, well, it must be that much of a weight's worth of stuff. And, I think that part of it's a flawed logic on my part, thinking like, well, the timeline and stuff has nothing to do necessarily with what the game is in terms of mechanics and stuff, just... There's a lot of factors in Kickstarter, and I have no problem with the fact that Kickstarters take a while to arrive. I've like made my peace with that and stuff. It's just one of those things that I've realized, like Tidal Blades is arriving really soon. I started to see some reviews of it come out, and they're like pretty good, but also some like stuff. And like I've even played that game, but it's been 2 years, and now I'm like, well, what if the game's changed a lot? And also, am I the same gamer that I was when I ordered this? We've talked about this kind of thing with Kickstarters before about like maybe your tastes have changed by the time it arrives. But I think regardless of that, it's just now I'm like, I think putting too much pressure on myself to like make sure I enjoy this thing because it's been a long time coming, where I think ideally would love to get to a point where I'm more like in flow with it all. And it's sort of like, oh, this game arrived. Cool. I would love to try this. It's essentially a new game, not a game that I've kind of been tracking mentally for months and months and months and months. So I'm curious for folks out there that participate in Kickstarter, do pre-orders for that matter, whatever it might be, where there's some downtime maybe between purchase and play. Does that ever mess with your head? Does it ever get into your brain and start to maybe make you build it up too much, maybe downplay what it's going to be too much? Or are you pretty good at kind of like going with the flow, and like when the game arrives, you are able to look at it with kind of fresh, bias-free eyes? Because I think in my head, I'm getting a little bit like, I better make sure that the time was worth it and the amount of money I paid, the kind of confirmation of time and energy put into, or resources rather, into this game. So that's all I got for you this week. I'm curious. I'm getting like maybe nervous that they're going to arrive and somehow I'm going to end up with a giant box that I don't want. I don't think that's going to happen, but it might. And I guess that is really, when you get right down to it, what can happen with any game I buy before I try. And again, in this case, Tidal Blades I've tried, so I don't know why I'm so worried. It's called anxiety. That's what it was. Nailed it. Let me know what you think about this in the comments below, and especially if you have any tips and tricks for kind of like just keeping it easy and not worrying so much about it. That is my natural state, is to worry. So that's all I got for you this week. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Mike Murphy, and just remember that whether or not you pre-order and then wonder and second guess everything you buy, or if you pre-order, completely forget about it, shows up on your doorstep and you think some magical board game fairy just apparated a game on your step and now it's yours, the more meta, the more beta.